Okay, hello everybody. I'm happy to be here. And so to start the second part, because I was just thinking the first part of the day was really important, but also really serious. So I'm trying to get off with a bit of different tune in this sense, and talk a bit about the alliance that we are here about. So I'm, of course, really honored to be here, and I have to say a really big thank you to the rector, Ineta, for inviting me and giving me the trust to speak today about the Alliance's achievement. So my presentation today will be in two parts, so you have to stand with me for two parts. The first part is about the Alliance and how we try to achieve the impact that we are planning to do. And after that, I have one small celebratory thing to do as well. So, of course, besides my role in the Alliance of being the Secretary General in this sense and being ready to do these presentations, there is actually one really important milestone coming up for our Alliance. And I think most of the people already know, but we are celebrating soon our 5th anniversary. So I think it's a time now to take back the step and think, okay, what is 5 years? Is it for us or for our universities? If you think back in your life when you were 5, or if you think of your children who are at 5 at the moment, then how do you feel if they are actually grown up or if there's still a lot to learn? So we are in the same position, I think. So to put it on a scale, so what does it actually mean for the Alliance if we have some guests who don't know so much about Transform for Europe? We started in 2020, and the main thing why those universities came together was actually to have a shared mission of thinking that the transformation of Europe should start from the universities. Yes, of course, the initial catalyst for us to come together was the Erasmus Plus program of European universities, but all the discussions and planning was made. How do we actually take it and start from a really basis of universities, of our people, transforming then our institutions and then transforming to Europe. So the main question whenever I present Transform for Europe in different positions is, how do you transform Europe? And then I say, well, the name of the Alliance is Transform for Europe, not Transform Europe. And the idea is that we are trying to find the first steps how to change ourselves, our institutions, our regions, and from that, hopefully, the change will happen in Europe or even globally. I will not go into the depth of the history. I think there are more people who were in the beginning from the Alliance already from the first proposal that we did. So feel free to talk with them in the networking lunch. But what happened? We had 7 partners in the beginning, and we started in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So basically, we met each other, I think, 1.5 later than we actually started. And if you look at the time scale, how many things have happened in between of this 2020 and 2025. So today, we are happy to be already grown, and in this really nice, sunny, but crisp day in Kaunas, I think it's a really valid time to take a time and talk where we are, what we have achieved, and what we want to achieve still. So what I think started as just a quite ambitious application for the European Commission is, I think, now grown into one alliance that has 11 partners in Europe, and connecting already, as you can see, thousands of students, staff, and everybody. So it's quite a big undertaking. And just to take a step back, I think all of those people who work for the Alliance, for our project, can also think that those 5 years have been endless array of organizing, participating meetings, organizing events, writing proposals, reports, and everything. At the same time, worrying that, are we on the right way? Is it how we should do it? And also, why doesn't things happen quicker? I think this is the main stress we are sometimes feeling. So my goal for today, for the next 20 or so minutes, is first to see why we are in this alliance, then hopefully to pat a bit on the shoulder for everybody of how much actually we have done in these 5 years, and hopefully in the end give you some food for thought for the next panels that we're going to have and think how Transform for Europe plays into that. So what I figured when I was planning this presentation, and of course I used a bit of my position of actually having slides. They was not supposed to have slides, but I have slides. So I prepared them, and I have maybe too much free time on my hand. So I made the timeline a bit longer. I put it on the timeline of all of these 11 universities, of their establishment, and then looking of what is the 5 years on that time scale. And those people who are really visual, the end 5 years is a bit wider than it should be, but that's for the purpose of the design. So I just wanted to put it in this context of all the shared history we have with the partners. So if you close your eyes, if you're from one of those partners universities and you think that about your university at the moment, doesn't matter if you're established in 19th century, in the 21st century, is your university ready? Is there anything that you still need to change, what you have to make it better, even in this history that you have? So I think for a university, 5 years is a really, really short time, because if you make a small change in university, you will see it either 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because it takes time. So I think, of course, we can say what we have done in the Alliance, but it's still a really first way. So for myself, how I figure how we are building the Alliance, I thought of the analogy of actually having a group of 11 friends who you want to build a apartment building for yourself. So you would live all together happily and have a really nice neighborhood. Everything functions the way as you would like. The only thing is that everybody of those friends has a different understanding. What does the lovely house should look like, what we should have in that, and how we should. And the main thing is none of us has ever built a house before. So that's basically where the universities in Europe were given with a plan of having the European universities, and that's what we have been doing as well. And just to give more scope to this 5 years, and we are doing everything in a way that we have to discuss with each other. So something is doing alone, but having discussions with everybody takes time. So of course, how do you do it? It's the same thing. You just have to start somewhere. You have to really start building the payment, then going on. But what I really think you really need to step away from it as well to see it a bit further. So this is where I want to take you for the next minute or so. Not so far, but but almost. Yeah, it's a small word. So the 5 years in this sense doesn't matter at all. But mainly I just put I made the scale even more smaller and put it on a scale of where we want to be. And this is actually the place, if we take our shared history, our shared time together, and where we want to be in the next 15 years, 10 years, 100 years. So this is something that we have to put it into context of what we are doing and what is the impact we want to have. And I think it's also important why Vytautas Magnus University had this topic of resilience as their topic of the resilience here, because I think this is something that we have to embody when we are going through all of these changes in the world, all these challenges we are facing, and actually building this European university that we yet don't know what it will look like in the future. But okay, going back to the actual business. So it's actually the first years has been mainly building trust about the partners, and at the same time understanding the strengths and restrictions. And this is really important because, of course, in the first you go all in, you want to do a lot, but then you see that there is restrictions. And I think that's where the trust comes from. You see that there are always these levels, what we can do, what we can't do, or what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Of course, we have quite a good governance that we're going to talk about later. And I think the biggest thing that we have achieved as well, that will have its first milestone tomorrow, is our legal entity that we're going to have together. And okay, I really need to have this slide because I've taken it to myself to advocate the knowledge entrepreneurship. If there are people in the hall who don't know, our full name is Transform for Europe, then the European University of Knowledge Entrepreneurship. It's a really easy way to say it. So, but what does it actually mean, and how does it connect to the resilience and for the European universities? So for us, it's mainly it's the matter of understanding or or how to do things. And it's not a traditional entrepreneurial side of things, but it's how you take decisions, creating opportunities, taking responsibility, really important part, using the knowledge, skills, and infrastructure you have to create and communicate all of this, what is happening collectively in your universities or in your studies, in your work, and so on. So what we have found, and also when Vytautas Magnus University was writing resilience paper, it is really much connected to resilience. And it's connected to the Enrico Letta report in 2024 about the fifth freedom, and that would really help us go further. So for the next part of my official part of the presentation are about the results and impacts that we're going to have or have had in the Alliance. So I divided into 3 parts because we measure impact in Transform for Europe in personal level, personal transformation, institutional transformation, and regional transformation. Based on those levels, we hope that the changes will be even bigger. There's a disclaimer, I wanted to have it on the screen, is when I went through all of the materials we have for the Alliance, and we are writing the intermediate report for the Commission at the moment as well. I could have needed 20 hours to talk about everything we have done. So I only have like another 5-7 minutes to talk about it. So I just try to combine them into the bigger pieces of the puzzle that we have. So my go-to thing for you for the lunch would go and find the people who are working for Transform Europe and ask them how much has been done and what they have been doing at the same time. So really quickly, I will not stop in too much. It's of course starting from the individual impact that we seem to have. And of course, if you look at universities, the first thing you think is the study offer you should have. We have it for the PhD students, we have it for BA students, MS students. We are starting with our micro-credentials. We have already joint programs going on that we want to extend upon, and so on. And this is, of course, what you would expect from the university. One thing that I think we should be really proud of is our meta campus that we just started this year, that we are still developing into a centralized space for all of the study offers we want to do, and that our students can use and our staff can use for administrating this as well. And at the same time, the second part is the meetups we are organizing. At the same time, we are having the Transform for Europe Week in Kaunas as we are here. So I think this is really a flagship of our Alliance, that we really come together with staff, students, and represent everything that is really important in this region where we're meeting up, but also bringing our knowledge together. One thing that Transform for Europe has been also credited a lot is that when talking about staff development, that we are not separating who do we develop. We have all included everybody. So we are offering programs for academic affairs, but also administrative affairs. And I hope that more and more we're going to combine them so we can learn from each other and actually make a collaboration better. Wait. Yes. So going to the second level is the institutional level. So of course, when working with our staff and hopefully giving them some new possibilities to network, finding new connections, be mobile, visit new places, we have to see that it will impact the institution. So of course, if you ever have a European university, you need to have a governance structure set, which I think works really well for us. And again, this is the structure that brings together everybody in the universities, from rectors to the student representatives. So we really try to go through all of the different levels and combine them together. But I would really like to emphasize one thing more, that we are, by building the European Alliance, we are actually changing and transforming our institutions, because we have to really take into account all of the decisions that being made will have to affect somehow our university and have a place in that. So as I said already, we have a first set of having really good outcomes of having a legal entity from tomorrow, and we already have a joint grants office that the partners came together with the hope that it will really boost our research capacity even more. But one thing that when I've been listening to different alliances, that I think Transform for Europe can be really proud of is that we haven't forgotten about the people, even in our institutional changes. And we want to concentrate on our joint heritage and how we talk about it, how we interpret it. We want to really keep it inclusive and diverse, the campus. So we are ready for all members of different universities at our campuses. And of course, organizing and thinking about the wellness of every person who is part of this ever-changing and global collaboration that we're going to have. And just for the really last part of this impact that we might have is the regional impact. And as you can see, the region is something that we can maybe affect the least from in this sense, but we see that we have the possibility to do it. And we have created systems for that. We have our transformation labs. We organize science cafes, a workshop for pupils, and so on. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'm making advertisement now. There is a podcast of Transform for Europe in different podcast platforms, so go and check it out. So, and of course, the second part of regional development will not happen without actually widening the borders. And that's been, I think, our main work for the next 2 years is widening our networks of partners with our outreach activities. And I know that tomorrow we're going to have already the first set of signings with our new partners. So Transform for Europe is ever growing in this sense. But okay, I was also asked to talk about the impact. So how does this all work in the context of the time frame I showed you before? I think that, yeah, we have built trust, we have built structures, we have done a lot of activities, and of course we have affected a lot of people, hopefully, through that. But this is not a transformation yet. It is a start of a foundation for the future that we're trying to build. Of course, Transform for Europe in the future will not be a physical building as such, but more of a concept of what we want to do. So I think this is something we have to keep in mind, that we have the basis for the 5 years, and we should start looking ahead. Okay, so first that we're going to do with all of the governance bodies, we are really now thinking about what will be in Transform for Europe by 2035. And this is, because this is the time that we know for the next European Commission monetary framework that we can actually still build ourselves, but where do we want to build ourselves? So this is the work we are now having in our hands. I think the next days will be heavy meetings with those discussions by our rectors, by our institutional coordinators, about the managers. But it's still, and it's 15 years of having alliance is already something you can count some outcomes, maybe bigger ones. But I think, talking generally, it's not an idea of having an alliance by 2035, but what is the Transform for Europe forward, where we are going to, and what are the next steps after that? How much will our institutions have to change? How much do we have to contribute to the alliance, and so on? And just two final remarks from my personal side. What I really hope that will stay in the alliance is the human connection, which is the most important part. Being part of the alliance almost from the beginning, I remember when the first time we met after 1.5 years behind the screens, and how it actually then really, like the cooperation blossomed after that. Or after every time we actually meet our friends from Mariupol State University in person, and we can actually do things together and discuss possible projects and so on. This is something that is, I think, the basis of the alliance. Doesn't matter how many reports we write, how many applications we have to write. This is the main thing. So what I give to you, maybe in this sense, so how should we go forward, and how we going to put the context to those discussions we're going to have today, is something that started as a project and is in a way of becoming an alliance as a actual structure with different governance bodies, is how do we become an ecosystem that is really almost unseeable, that really benefits our partners, but also that our partners benefit by giving into it as much. So yeah, with this sense, I really want to end my official part of the talk. I hope I gave you some overview of what we've been doing, if you haven't heard about it before, and give you some inkling of where we are going. So thank you, and hope you have a really wonderful next of the event. Thank you. As I said, I'm not leaving yet. So I have one celebratory thing to do as well. Yes, perfect. So, I talked really about the bigger picture and things what we are trying to do, where we want to get to. But I think it's also time now to stop and actually think of the people who have make it happen and who are actually the people who are every day actually benefiting from our collaboration and who carry through everything that we are planning to do. So we have such a thing as Transform for Europe Chair Exchange Program that gives the academics a possibility to go for extended times to different universities, to teach, to do research, and to work with students and with the other staff members. And from that, we wanted to really acknowledge those people who do even more than is just expected from them from the going for the exchange. So from that grew out an initiative called Alliance Champion Award. So it's an honorary award given to one of the chair exchange participants who has been evaluated by the selection committee of seeing how much has been done. So before I'm going to say who is the first ever Transform for Europe Alliance champion, just a bit of a background what the selection committee has said of the receiver. So they say that the award laureate had a really successful chair exchange program that resulted in 2 blended courses of using AI in teaching and research for PhD students and using AI for learning English for MA and BA students, as well as co-authoring 2 conference presentations, roundtable paper on topic of AI ethics, academic integrity, AI-generated text, among others. The selection committee said that the achievements do not only reflect the champion's academic excellence, but also embody the essence of a Transform for Europe and what we're trying to achieve. So, I really ask you to give a big hand of presenting the first ever Transform for Europe Alliance Champion Award winner, who is Assistant Professor Martina Baradish from University of Primorska. Unfortunately, thank you. Unfortunately, she can't be here, but her colleague Andrea is picking it up on behalf of her. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. And I leave you with the next part of the conference. Thank you so much.